A sewing lesson from Sew New York. This lesson is going to teach you how to sew the stay stitch. Hi, welcome to Sew New York. I'm Laura McCracken, and today I'm going to teach you how to sew the stay stitch. The stay stitch is a machine stitch that many people skip as it seems so unimportant, but I'm going to show you why it is important. So let's go take a look at the stay stitch now. Okay, so now we're looking at a piece of fabric here, and we're going to learn the stay stitch. Usually on your pattern you will see instructions to sew a stay stitch. Sometimes it's around the neckline, sometimes it's along a princess line going down over the bust line where there's a curve. So this piece of fabric has been cut, and it simulates a front of a garment, and this being the neckline around here. It keeps curling back. So if your instructions tell you to stay stitch a certain edge, in this case I'm going to show you how you would stay stitch on a neck edge, and it's the same principle for whatever edge on the pattern piece they're telling you to stitch. So now we're going to go and take a look at how to sew this. Alright, now here's the curved neckline. I can't get this corner to stay flat. I did press it, but it just keeps curling. Anyway, we're going to stitch the stay stitch. It's going to run along the neckline, the curved front neckline. The purpose of the stay stitch, it's used to keep your fabric from stretching. So I've talked about bias in my other videos. Bias is the 90-degree angle of your fabric. So on straight grain, the fabric has no real stretch. That's not stretching. And on cross grain, there's no real stretch. The fabric always has movement, but there's no real stretch. But if I fold it on a 90-degree angle, like that, then all of a sudden I have all this stretch and give. So anytime you cut a curve on your woven fabric, right, might say woven, the curve always creates a bias. So now there's bias here because this is straight and this is straight, but that's not. So there is bias. And because of that, you want to make sure that you don't stretch out the neckline. So you do a stay stitch. Or you don't want to stretch out any curve that you're being told to put a stay stitch on. Some fabrics will stretch more than others. Okay, let's start the stay stitch. So you're going to go either to the top of the garment at the shoulder, or you could even turn it over if you wanted to, and you could start at the center front right there and sew from here to the shoulder. I'll start here because that's where it is now. On your machine, hopefully you have some lines. My machine has 5/8, that's 1/2 inch, that's 3/8, and a quarter of an inch is right at the edge of this foot. If you don't have any lines on your machine, you're going to take a little ruler and you're going to measure from the stitch, from where the needle comes down into that hole of the machine. You want to measure from where the needle comes into the machine out to a 1/2 inch and make a mark, or put a piece of tape. I always use a piece of tape. Anyway, my tape right now is on 5/8. I'm not going to move it, but I'm going to come in to the 1/2 inch mark. For the stay stitch, you're just going to use your normal length stitch size. There's no need to back tack, and it doesn't matter which side you sew it on. It's the same on either side. You could sew it on this side or on this side. So no back tacking, just put it into the machine at 1/2 inch. So the 1/2 inch is 1/8 of an inch less than your seam allowance, which is 5/8. And now we're going to sew this to the shoulder. And then when you're done, just snip it off, and there you have it. That is the stay stitch, and that keeps the neckline from stretching out. Now a lot of people read the pattern. They don't understand the stay stitch, and they see that it's not going to be part of the garment after it's sewn, and they just don't bother to do it. But you see all these little puckers that are right here? I would really want to go to the ironing board and just maybe steam that a little bit, and it will just bring it right back to where it should be. Now this fabric obviously doesn't have as much stretch as other fabrics, so some fabric you sew on, you'll do your stay stitch and it doesn't seem like it's done very much because the fabric is nice and tight. Some fabrics are very loosely woven and they have so much give. You want to make sure that you stay stitch those. And then there's fabrics like really silky fabrics. I'll show you a piece of silk. This is a piece of China silk right here, this orange fabric. It's very, very silky. And look at the stretch that's in this. If I don't stay stitch the edges that I'm told to in my pattern, it's just going to ripple. So when you go to attach a collar onto the neckline, or say you put a facing into the neckline, whatever area you do not stay stitch, when you then sew the seam together with the other piece, it's going to be all ripply. Okay, so this is the stay stitch, very simple, do it all the time, and I'm going to show you one more piece of fabric, and I'm going to show you what happens when you don't do a stay stitch. So this is a very loosely woven fabric, and this is called, it's a cotton, it's a lino, it's very loose. You see that you can see the threads basically just coming right off. So, and here's a simulated small curve, it could be a neckline. It's just a curved edge that you would want to stay stitch. Now, if the pattern doesn't tell you to stay stitch, it's not necessary. So you don't have to worry about it. Just do it where you're told to do it, okay? So I have this curved neckline, and I'm using a dark thread so you can see what happens. As well, on the stay stitch, you know, I did that with the yellow fabric and I used a black thread. I'm using the dark threads to show you so you can see things. When you're sewing, you want your threads to obviously match your fabric. So with this one that I'm going to do now, you would use a white thread. Anyway, I'm just going to make believe this might be, a bias piece that I'm going to sew onto the fabric. I'm going to lay it on the edge. If you're a new sewer, you'd want to pin and baste this on, but I can sew this small little area without all that. So I'm going to sew this on, and then you're going to see how this neckline looks very pulled, messy, and loses its shape because it was not stay stitched. Alright, let me cut this off and let's take a look at this. So you see that? You see how wide it became and how it's not even curved anymore. It's practically straight. So you don't want that to happen. This had a nice curve and it's gone because I didn't stay stitch the piece. So some fabrics just really don't hold up well unless it has a stay stitch. Anyway, I hope this stay stitch lesson helps you with your sewing. Thanks, have a great day, and I'll see you soon.